podcast show for business owners and managers who are passionate about developing people and growing a successful business. And now here's your host, Alistair Booth from the HR Booth.
Welcome to our latest podcast. So today we are going to talk about people plans. And the reason for this topic is that we are at the start of a new year, and it tends to be this time of year where business owners and business leaders make decisions and kind of resolutions and plans for the kind of year ahead, coming back refreshed after the kind of Christmas and New Year break and really wanting to kind of make a big impact in their business this year. So one of the kind of key things and key elements around that is having a people plan. So what I'm going to do in this episode is just kind of chat through some of the things that should be included in a people plan. And these are certainly some of the things that we speak to our clients with on a regular basis. And quite often we're working with our clients to kind of help shape and develop and implement their people plan and make sure that is kind of action throughout the course of the year. So I suppose the first thing in relation to a people plan is just to kind of say what it is, and there's probably loads of definitions and different kind of terminology out there, but essentially a people plan is a kind of strategic tool that aligns your workplace or workforce and your team with your own kind of business goals. So that is essentially what you're looking for your people plan to do. So key things to kind of consider within that is having a think around your business goals and strategy. So what is that? So what is your business strategy, and does that align with your people plan and overall objectives? So for example, you might want to think about your future workforce needs, and that will be based on any growth that you've got planned for the year ahead or future years, any changes to your workforce. So there might be new technology that's coming in, there might be AI, might be new equipment, new machinery. So does that impact on the number of people in your workforce? Or if it is kind of planned growth and more sites and you know more product or more services, are you going to need kind of more people around that? Or you might also be thinking about kind of new markets. So you know, how do you diversify into that? Or are you thinking about a different type of product altogether? So how do you kind of, I suppose, bring that to market? How do you train people on that, and how do you sell that? So that'll be sort of the things around your high-level organisational goals and strategy. So on the workforce kind of planning side of things, so what you'll be kind of doing there is looking at your current workforce capacity. So if you're looking to take on more work, have you got capacity in the existing team to do that, or do you need to recruit? What skills do you have in the workplace? So if it was, you know, different technology, new machinery, different types of products, different IT infrastructure, for example, then what skills have you got in place to deliver that at the moment? And would you need to kind of maybe think about things like apprenticeships, hiring new employees, or upskilling or retraining your existing kind of workforce? So that'll be things that you'll want to consider. Another one is your kind of demographics. So what's the kind of age profile of your team? So have you got people that are perhaps approaching retirement age? Have you got people who are maybe at a stage in their life where they're looking for different working hours, for example? So different things like that you need to kind of consider. And what you would also then need to kind of do is kind of plan ahead. So look at your future workforce needs, think about your kind of headcount, think about the skills and the roles that you're going to need for the future. And ultimately what you're then going to do is develop a strategy or strategies that will help you fill these gaps, whether it's through recruitment, training, restructuring, redundancy, or you know, reskilling, for example. These will be the sorts of things that you'll think about from a workforce planning point of view. And then if it is kind of recruitment and talent acquisition, excuse me, that you need to go down, then what you need to kind of think about is the skills that you need for these future hires. You'll need to think about your kind of employer value proposition to attract people. So, you know, what is it like to work in your workplace? What's the culture? What's the values? What is it you're offering individuals to come and work for you? And then think about kind of diversity and inclusion around your kind of hiring strategies. So these will be the sort of things from a recruitment and a talent acquisition point of view that you're going to need to consider, and also kind of thinking about who's all involved in that kind of process as well. Once you kind of decide what it is you kind of need. If you've obviously got a thing around, you know, making sure that the business is quite stable, that you're not looking to kind of reduce headcount. Then obviously what's going to be quite important is the retention of team members. You're obviously kind of be looking at things like employee engagement. So you'll be thinking about how do you measure that? So, how do you measure employee satisfaction? How do you measure their engagement in the business? So you might be thinking about things like surveys, feedback loops. It could be focus groups. It could be kind of utilising someone like ourselves to kind of help facilitate some of that. You want to think about different initiatives based on that feedback that you get, which will look at kind of things like morale. If there is an issue with turnover in the business, then you maybe need to think about how you improve that and how you improve productivity and kind of loyalty within the business. And then the last part of that would be potentially looking at how you recognise and reward people within the business as well. So what's your kind of recognition like? How do you reward people for good work? Have you got regular kind of pay reviews, salary scales? What's the progression around that? So these will be the sort of things that you want to think about within your people plan as well, around retention and engagement. A big factor will also be learning and development. So again, we know from working with lots of businesses and working with lots of people that what people want and from an employer is good pathways, good opportunities for progression, good opportunities for growth, and good opportunities for development. So you might want to think about the skills gap within your business. You'll need to kind of design training programs to help address that. You'll want to kind of create a culture where there's some continuous learning and development for these people that want to progress. And then the kind of final part for the leadership and development, and it's something that we do on a regular basis, is providing opportunities for your leadership team. So what is that succession plan? What skills do your leaders have? What do they need? And is actually kind of providing some support around that, so that your leaders are the best people in these kind of roles. So they're leading by example, they're role models, they're ambassadors for your business, and they can give effective kind of feedback, all stuff that's going to drive your kind of business forward. Because the next point on your people plan is performance management. So you need your leaders to have the difficult conversations, give feedback in a timely manner, recognise people for their contributions, set good objectives so that people understand what's expected of them, have kind of clear key performance indicators for your team members, and ultimately your kind of leadership and management teams will be the ones that will be checking in with people, giving regular kind of feedback. You want that to be on an observational kind of basis, so you're not kind of waiting once a year for your managers and leaders to be given that feedback. So what skills have they got, and what tools have they got to equip them to be able to kind of do that and drive that part of your business forward? And ultimately you want your performance and rewards to kind of be linked with career progression as well. And then touched on this earlier, but obviously diversity and inclusion is really important. So you'll be thinking about the policies and practices to promote an inclusive kind of workplace. You might want to kind of think about goals that you want to set that you can measure around that. So what does that kind of look like? And obviously address any unconscious bias in decision making. So that could be within your recruitment process. It could be within your kind of performance management process and within your kind of manager. So have a think about that as well. And then thinking about well-being and employee experience. So what does it kind of feel like to be in your business? So what initiatives have you put in place to support mental, physical and financial well-being? So that might be thinking about financial advisors coming in and doing some talks on financial well-being. You might want to get some experts in around kind of mental and physical well-being as well, and just kind of raise that awareness and promote that within the workplace. And ultimately thinking about things that will foster a positive culture that aligns with your own values, but also the values of your people. And then obviously flexible working is probably a part of that as well. So what arrangements have you got in place for flexible kind of working and potentially hybrid working, if that's something that you can offer? And then you've obviously within your people plan, you need to think about legal issues. So obviously this year there'll be things like around national minimum wage. There's obviously changes to employment legislation that are kind of coming in. So how does that impact on your business? There's legal issues around the national insurance changes that take place in April. So how does that impact on your business in terms of the extra cost? How do you kind of get around that? And by around that, how do you manage that? So can you sell more? Do you increase your prices? Have you got salary exchange or salary sacrifice benefits that you could perhaps offer to try and mitigate that risk? So different things like that you'll need to kind of think about. But there might be other kind of legislation changes that impact on your business. So it could be health and safety. There could be changes in your industry, your sector, so things like that you kind of need to be aware of. So you need to kind of stay up to date with that as well. And obviously something that's kind of changing all the time is technology. So AI is a big thing at the minute. But again, there might be other technology in your business that could help make you more efficient, could help kind of streamline some of your processes, could help automate some of your processes, and it could actually kind of drive productivity improvements and just make you more efficient as a business. So have a look at the systems that you've got in place now. Is that what you kind of need for the future? And if it isn't, what do you need to do to kind of manage that forward? And as I touched on this earlier around succession planning piece. So again, look at key roles in your business, look at any kind of potential risks if anyone's going to leave the business, look at kind of potential successors within the organisation. So is there a career pathway for that? Have they got a personal development plan? And look at how you can maybe develop a pipeline of talent to reduce any impact of people leaving the business in the future, and then kind of think about different mentoring and leadership programs that you can potentially kind of deliver to help support that kind of succession planning piece. And the final part would be on kind of change. So I suppose, we speak to a lot of clients, quite often hear the phrase, the only constant in the business is change. So, I think we see that quite a bit. So there might be organisational changes that will impact on the workforce. There might be changes that are coming that will impact on the team. So how do you communicate that effectively? How do you get buy-in from the team? How do you kind of manage any resistance from the team? And have you got, back to this kind of whole leadership kind of piece as well, have you got the right leaders who can manage that transition smoothly and help with the messaging? So that's just some of the things to be considered within a people plan. We'll put some notes within the show notes here as well. So if there's any kind of particular topics on that you want to kind of follow up on a little bit more. But obviously, running your business can be a challenge. We're into a new year, so hopefully some of the topics that I've included today will help you equip your business, equip your leaders, and help you kind of drive that forward in the future. But any questions on anything people related or anything within the people plan, feel free to reach out to us. You can do that through info@thehrbooth.co.uk, or you can find us on YouTube or on the website, which is www.thehrbooth.co.uk. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll hopefully catch up with you again soon.